Hi everyone, I'm Sharon and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'll be creating a standard A2 size card featuring a happy blue honeybee that's buzzing its way along a positively bright rainbow, bringing wishes for a bee-tiful day. Without any further ado, let's begin with an overview of the Lawn Fawn products that I will use to create this card. The main image comes from the Tiny Gift Box Bee add-on die set. This honeybee is the cutest and most non-threatening bee I've ever seen. I use Oliver's stitched ABCs for part of my sentiment and the sun from the Reveal Wheel Circle add-on flower and sun frames. The sentiments I use come from Swan Soirée, and the heart trail image is from Butteryfly Kisses, and I use the stamp and the coordinating die. I use the cloudy stencil, and finally, some fake tan and blue jay colored cardstock from Lawn Fawn's Really Rainbow Pack, which is a really high quality 100-pound heavyweight cardstock. I use the largest of the large stitched rectangle Stackables, which measures 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches, to cut out my standard A2 size card panel using Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock, a really high quality cardstock for optimum ink blending. I have written out the measurements here for you to recreate this card or to design a perspective rainbow scene of your own. You may wish to pause here to take a screenshot of these measurements. I use my magnetic 12 by 12 inch Wendy Vecchi MAKE ART Stay-tion and its centering magnetic ruler to help me measure out my design. To create my positively bright rainbow, I use 5 Distress Oxide colors: Candied Apple, Mustard Seed, Lucky Clover, Broken China, and Wilted Violet. I use strips of Scotch multi-surface painter's tape to mask off each section of the rainbow as I ink blend. I tested this tape out before using it on this project, and I highly suggest you test your low-tack tape out before you are using it to mask over areas that are already ink blended. After I ink blend each color, I use my heat tool to dry the ink before taping over a newly ink blended area. This is a really important step to avoid smudging or smearing your ink. I also recommend that you not reuse any pieces of your masking tape because you don't want to contaminate any of your colors. Next, I use the cloudy stencil to create my fluffy clouds. To avoid creating inky blotches, notice how I start with my blending brush on the stencil and move my way onto the paper. Remember to mask off your rainbow when you ink blend your clouds. Here are all the die cut pieces I need to build my scene. I ink blend both the bee's face and sun with Mustard Seed Distress Oxide, and I use Candied Apple Distress Oxide for the bee's little rosy cheeks. Now it's time to assemble the honeybee. I really love the deep color of the Blue Jay cardstock, so I use that as the base color of my bee instead of black. The Tiny Gift Box Bee add-on die set is square in shape, but I want my honeybee to have a rounded face. So after I assemble the bee, I reposition the die and I place it under the bee's chin. Secure it with some washi tape, and I run it again through my die cutting machine. And now I have a bee with a rounded chin. An interesting fact about honeybees that I was unaware of is that they have 2 pairs of wings, a set of large forewings and a set of smaller hindwings. Both are rather translucent. So to create contrast between my wings, I adhere a pair of acetate wings on top of the set of cardstock wings to create some reflective interest. I just love the internal stitching detail of Oliver's stitched ABCs. I offset the way I glue the fake tan cardstock over the Blue Jay cardstock to create some shadow and dimension. I really want the word bee to stand out on my card. Next, I stamped the loopy heart trail from the Butteryfly Kisses stamp set in some navy ink. I carefully position the coordinating die over the stamped image and I run it through my die cutting machine. For part of the sentiment, I'm going to heat emboss the scripty word beautiful from the Swan Soirée stamp set. I cover up the beau part of the word with a post-it note, and using my Misty stamping tool, I ink up and stamp my sentiment using VersaMark watermark ink. Then I sprinkle on some Ranger superfine white embossing powder. I shake off and pour the excess powder back into the jar, and I melt the powder with my heat tool to reveal a bright white sentiment. I cut down my sentiment strips using my Tim Holtz paper trimmer. Now for the fun of assembling the card. Before gluing anything down, I position all of the images to ensure that I achieve the perfect layout design. Then I use some foam tape to pop up the honeybee and I position it on a slant to create the illusion of movement. Like the bee is buzzing in from the top left-hand corner, as the loopy flight trail suggests. I place the sun on the top right-hand corner to balance out the images on the top section of the panel. To ensure the sentiment is centered, first I glue down the second E of the bee, then I adhere the larger sentiment banner. Next, I adhere the letter B to ensure that the word bee-tiful is centered. To create the card base for my A2 size card panel, I have a 5.5 by 8.5 inch piece of accent opaque 120-pound cardstock that I score at the midway 4.25 mark on the 8.5 inch side. Now I use some liquid glue to adhere the card front to the card base. And here we have it, my finished card. Here's a happy blue honeybee buzzing over a positively bright rainbow, on its way to wish the recipient of this card a bee-tiful day. I am really happy with the way that the simple die-cut card turned out. It's the perfect card for brightening up a friend's day. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this video, please do hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. I hope that you will join me again next time. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.